Yo, what up, a-holes? Thank you for tuning in to the Holistic A-Hole podcast. My name is Eric Levi, and I'm the Holistic A-Hole, the mommy blogger with balls, the inconvenient truth of health. What's up, everybody? How the heck's it going for you today on this lovely early fall, late summer day here in good old New York City? Coming to you to talk about a recent interaction I had here in good old New York City that I did find quite of interest and just kind of something that's been on my mind since it went down in regards to me getting in arguments about Trump. Now, if you're not new to the podcast, you know, I kind of lean a little bit more towards the favoring of good old President Donald Trump. I'm not a fanboy. I'm not, wearing my Make America Great Again hat all around New York City trying to engage every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and Moisha, and Jamal, and Peggy, and Nimesh, and whoever else makes up the general population of New York City. I'm not trying to consciously engage people in arguments, but somehow I just fall face first into these live debates, and which end up turning more into arguments usually, because people, believe it or not, are pretty heated about the current political situation. So I want to talk about that. I want to let you guys know how this went down for me, and let you know what I learned from this last interaction that I had. And whether you lean right, lean left, I think you're going to find something of value out of this discussion, because it wasn't like I'm not angry that a guy didn't agree with how I felt about Trump, and I'm not angry that person doesn't agree with me. Is that what I just said? I'm not angry that they didn't agree with me, and I don't think, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I didn't take it personally, but it has been sitting with me for a couple days, and I kind of want to work through this because I really feel like from this discussion I had with this guy, I learned a lot about just really the emptiness of a lot of these, anti-Trumper talking points. So I want to talk about that. So again, if you are not new, this will come as no surprise. But if you are new, first of all, welcome to the podcast. And since you made it here, I have no idea how you made it here because there's so many places you can find this podcast. But now that you're here, make sure you come back over and over again. And the only way to do that is to hit the subscribe button right there in your podcast feed. It's like the easiest thing you're going to do today. All you got to do is look at the touch screen on your phone. Remember, Steve Jobs made that so easy for everybody because he was like, I need to invent a touchscreen on this new fancy iPhone. I don't care about the internet. I don't care about Twitter. I don't care about, even if this phone sends and receives voice through the receiver. I just want to make sure that people can hit the subscribe button right there on their screen when they're listening to the Holistic A-Hole podcast. This is a direct quote from Steve Jobs in 2002. I swear to God, it's in the Jobs book. So hit the subscribe button and then go find me on all the social mediums, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, Holistic A-Hole, all there. Lots of fun stuff happening here. So typically this is like a health-related podcast, but I like to get into politics because I'm the Holistic A-Hole. I'm an a-hole. Read my reviews on iTunes. I really am an a-hole, and I find there is quite an intersection between health and politics and money and quite frankly, like, I'm not qualified to talk only about health, and it gets a little boring after a while. I'm not a doctor. I'm going to school for nutritional therapy. That's like a big thing happening for me right now. But even when I'm done going to school for nutritional therapy, and maybe even if I became like a freaking, I don't know, a heart surgeon, I don't just want to talk about health. There's so many podcasts out there that know more than me about this stuff. I just try to start the discussion. And I also feel that, when we talk about like living holistically, health is a part of it. It's not everything. Like medical health is a part of it, but it's not everything. You have mind, body, spirit. So taking care of your body, that is 1/3 of the equation of being holistic, right? What about the mind? What about the spirit? You can't stop thinking. You can't stop creating. You can't stop feeling connected. And what I find happening, and I don't want to call it the political realm because it spans just so much farther than politics. I find this is like a societal thing that's happening right now. I mean, you could say here in America, we're going through growing pains right now. We're just, for some people, the baby bottle was taken away. You'd been sucking on that thing for a while, and it got taken away, and now you have to face yourself in the mirror and really see the truth of what this country is. We're all seeing it right now. We're all learning so much about ourselves. And I actually listened to this really interesting podcast today on the Rich Roll podcast. He interviewed, I don't know the guy's name, Harari or something. He wrote the book Sapiens, and he was talking about, He was talking about, how in society, we're all nowadays so influenced by our social media. And not just in the sense that it's like, hey, what is Sally saying about, about her apple pie she made or whatever. It's like the news that you see and are exposed to is so heavily influenced off of algorithms. And when you talk about algorithms, we're talking about AI. We're talking about artificial intelligence. We're talking about programs that are so far beyond what any of us can comprehend to make it so that on the front end, when we're looking at our computer screen, we don't even question the stuff that comes through our feed. I know my life has been heavily influenced, and this sounds so stupid, and I just want to take a second and just punch myself in the face after I say this, but my life has been so heavily influenced by Netflix. Isn't that crazy? I didn't know anything about veganism before I got Netflix. And then I watched like 4 vegan documentaries on Netflix, and I was like, holy shit, I got to become a vegan. And then I became a vegan. And it's the same thing when you're scrolling through Google. Google's the biggest culprit of this. If you type in a news story into Google, you're not going to get independent news articles. You're going to get corporate mainstream media news articles. And if you know the mainstream media, they're just parroting the same line, not because they're trying to give you, free and completely true information. They're trying to write stuff that's clickbait, that they know you're going to be interested because it's provocative. It's nowadays all anti-Trump. Good luck finding a pro-Trump article on Google. Oh, and here's another little fun one as just a monster fucking helicopter goes by the window here. When you go on Facebook, if you're a conservative, okay, so Facebook has kind of caught on, I think, that I like some conservative stuff. And I see a lot of like conservative posts come through my feed. I see a lot of conservative. I see a lot of liberal because all my friends are, liberal comics. So I see both of these worlds come through. And it's interesting because I don't know when this happened. I feel like it was definitely within the last couple weeks. When you go on to Facebook now, you see like a conservative post, the share button is not on the post. Okay, so if you want to see this in action, go to like CRTV. They seem to be like the big ones right now on Facebook. They're in my feed all the time. I don't even know what that is, but it's like, people like Gavin McInnes and, all of these, I guess, quote unquote, alt-right people, are broadcasting through there, but there is no, there's the comment, there's the like, but there's no share button. If you want to share a post, you got to jump through a couple hoops, and you might be sitting there if you don't agree with what I'm saying right now, and you might be like, yeah, well, that's who cares, Eric? You can still share. You can just click on the thing and then yeah, but it's more the psychological element, because I've seen a couple of these posts come through and I'm like, oh man, I want to share this. And then you don't see the share button and you very quickly just kind of lose the motivation to want to share. Whereas if it's anti-conservative, if it's pro-liberal, or if it's just, a fucking cat eating a Snickers bar or whatever, it's very easy to share, and that it's just a one-click share now. Boom, it's done. So yes, our lives are incredibly influenced by algorithms, and so this is the society, this is the world we live in, and I don't know if like in the last year I've just full on become, just my brain just has unhinged and I've lost my mind, but I have. What is it? Taking the red pill? I've stepped out of the matrix. I have lost a lot of my friends because we can't physically talk anymore without it just being a shouting match, And, I'm a provocateur of that a bit, but at the same time, I'm the kind of person that when I see this, what I would call injustice, as in someone trying to strip away my right to express my opinion, because I come from a different place, a different, unique place than everybody else here in New York City, just like everybody does. I'm not so easy to convince that this quote-unquote mainstream liberal way of thinking is the right way, and the intersection of health comes in, where I was mostly influenced in this way, where I found out that that this Obamacare healthcare was just a giant fucking scam. And it genuinely bothers me, This is why I'm becoming a nutritional therapist, because I don't want to ever have to rely on the care of the United States healthcare system, the United States for-profit healthcare sick care system. Let me be more specific. So what I've decided is that I'm going to learn every way to keep my body thriving and healthy and alive. And I'm going to live my life to the absolute goddamn fullest. And I'm never going to compromise. I'm never going to fucking let somebody take advantage of me, even if it means that I lose millions or billions of dollars of opportunities. I lose opportunities to become famous. I lose opportunity, whatever it is. I'll never bend like that, because I see it happening all around me to people I genuinely admire. And it's just sad. It's just sad. So this is kind of like where I'm coming from. This was not the whole point of the podcast, to rant about, where I'm coming from. I just want to give a little preface here as to why this interaction happened that I'm going to tell you about. So this last weekend, me and the lovely Miss A-hole, we went to Washington Square Park in Greenwich Village, New York City. And full transparency, Greenwich Village, probably my favorite neighborhood in all of New York City. If you've been to New York, if you weren't just such a stupid tourist and, only walked around Times Square and Central Park, and if you've made your way to Greenwich Village, that is the funnest neighborhood in the city, right? We're talking the best bars, the best comedy clubs, jazz clubs, just walk in the streets. There is a unique energy in that neighborhood, unlike anything I've felt anywhere that I've ever been, which is probably why I spent almost every single day, my first 5 years in New York City, in Greenwich Village. I just loved it. I just love it so much. And I don't get down there as much anymore, unfortunately. And I was down there the other day, me and the lovely Miss A-hole, we go down to Greenwich Village, Washington Square Park, and now it's become a thing that I really don't like. You walk around and it's just, everything is just anti-Trump. You know, I'm walking by these, just really nice, highly reputable restaurants, highly rated restaurants. They have impeach Trump stickers in the window, Like I just want to go get a plate of linguine at your Italian restaurant. But now I gotta think about like, what I say in your restaurant because it might offend somebody. So either way, me and Miss A-Hole, we go to Washington Square Park. It's a beautiful day outside. I'm not even thinking about, all the problems going on in the world. I'm just there. It's just like the last day, that it's going to be nice and sunny. And I'm just about sitting in the park, looking at the pigeons, looking at the people, got my shirt off, getting some sun, getting some good old vitamin D, helping to transport that calcium into my bones, helping all of my immune system functionalities, helping the integrity of my cellular functions. I mean, it's just a great day. Miss A-Hole is looking fine as always. The park is packed with, interesting people. We're sitting across from a little, 3-piece jazz band, playing their thing. Just a couple kids probably trying to make a few bucks to go get, a couple beers or something. I mean, just the vibe of Saturday afternoon, Washington Square Park, New York City. There's nothing like it. So we're sitting there, we're hanging out, and I notice that next to the fountain, the famous fountain in Washington Square Park, if you know the park, you know the fountain I'm talking about. If you've seen the show Friends, it's the fountain from the show Friends, but it's not the real fountain. The real fountain is actually in Los Angeles, but it's fucking the magic of Hollywood. So next to the fountain in Washington Square Park is a guy selling pins, but not just any pins. Oh no, these are anti-Trump pins. And so I see this, and of course, I can't help myself. I feel as if I must engage this fella, Again, I'm not big on the social media pissing matches, they lead to nothing. But I've noticed lately I've been very into engaging people in person. Okay. And I don't know what it is. I just love a good argument. And I noticed that, man, for as bold as people are online, they're just absolute fucking pussies in person. You would think with all of the arguments happening all over Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, wherever it is, you would think that people are just yelling at each other in the streets nonstop every single day. Oh, but no, it is very peaceful out there, unless the holistic a-hole is in town, and then the fucking dust, it will not settle. So I should also mention, too, I've had a few of these arguments, these discussions recently. I was in Philly a couple months ago, and I engaged these ICE protesters who apparently are getting paid by somebody to be there. Homeless people are being paid to sit around these little ICE encampments and make a scene about how ICE is racist and all this stuff, or whatever the talking point is. So I talked to these people, got some very interesting information. I like to learn stuff from people. I just like to talk to people. I'm a goddamn human. Call me old fashioned, but I like to talk to people face to face, right? So I go up to this guy who's selling the anti-Trump pins, and I just kind of want to just talk. I don't know. I had no agenda, right? I had no, agenda to be like, I need to prove a point to this guy, or I need to prove him wrong. Or this guy's a piece of shit for doing this, or none of that. I just want, there's just something inside me that feels the need to engage these people, to discuss this, right? Like, where are you coming from, bro? Like, why are you selling anti-Trump pins? Why are you trying to make money off of this? These are the things I want to know. I don't care where you stand politically. I don't care if you vote Democrat, Republican, Green Party, Libertarian, Communist, fucking Labor, whatever it is. I don't care. I just enjoy the conversation, and I enjoy the arguments. So I engaged this feller, and what a feller he was. Just some like older dude, not like a little old man, but like a guy probably in his like 60s. You know, he looked like hot garbage. I mean, he was overweight, had stubbly beard, a gross hat, probably hadn't changed his shirt in a couple days, had a couple stains on it. He's sitting there selling the pins, and when I walked up, he just so happened to be eating a crepe, which, I felt bad in a sense, like I was going to start bothering him while he was eating, but sorry, dude, you set up right in Washington Square Park. This is a goddamn public place. You know, it's not like I walked into your store and started talking shit. You know, it's not like I'm wearing a pussy hat and I'm sitting around Trump Tower, you know, while families are walking by yelling that, I'm a nasty woman and, I'm grabbing pussies and all this stuff. You're in Washington Square Park. That is a public park right next to the fountain. This is New York City, by the way. This is Greenwich Village, the home of the beatniks and the bohemians and of free speech, you know? So you're not going to tell me that I can't talk to this guy. So I go up and I talk to this guy, and I didn't really know what to say. I just led with this. I go, yeah, man. I should mention too, all his pins were not just anti-Trump, but it was like the standard like anti-Trump talking points, right? Like the impeach Trump pins and the funny pictures of Trump, which I think those are hilarious, right? Like when people wear the wigs and they make fun of the hair and the grabbing the pussy. And my favorite one is when he went to Puerto Rico and was like free throw shooting paper towels into the crowd. Like, I could be a Trump supporter and I could fucking make fun of the guy and I could laugh because the dude's a character, right? So he's got all of those pins, right? And I just go to the guy and I'm like, I go, yeah, man, I don't think you're right about any of this stuff. And this is what this dude says to me verbatim. He goes, if you don't agree with me, I don't have anything to say to you. That's what he said to me. That's it. And it's funny because that, from all of the data that I've collected of my personal anecdotes, seems to be that is the main talking point that not just people who support the left go with, but is the actual talking point of people on the Democratic Party who are running for office. If you don't support my opinion, I've got nothing to say to you. I've got nothing to say to somebody who doesn't agree with me. I've got nothing to prove to the point that I'm right if you don't agree with me. Because if you agree with me, then I don't have to think. I don't have to make a statement that makes sense. I could just yell out, derogatory names like Nazi and what's the other ones they say? Nazi, white supremacists and, hateful person and, no policy discussion, just name calling, because you got nothing to say. If someone doesn't agree with you, you just have nothing to say, right? Whereas I feel, maybe I'm just biased. I don't know, but there's quite a few talking points that I feel like we can talk about, right? And I'm not just like trying to have an argument with you. I'm trying to like understand, because I don't understand what has happened to the country in the last 2 years. I don't understand why people have become so irrational, so irrationally retarded with their points, to the point where it's making them sick. There's no way that you can spend, fucking 18 hours a day on your phone, engaging everybody on your Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Reddit feeds in these arguments and not be dealing with some kind of at least low-level fucking stress, probably some gastrointestinal issues. Maybe you're dealing with GERD or GERD, some acid reflux, probably have some sort of IBS, maybe just have a very fucking destroyed microbiome, dysbiosis, leaky gut, and you have an autoimmune reactions. You got rashes up and down your arms to your fingers, up your neck, into your eyeballs. You just look like a pile of hot, scaly, scabby garbage, and yet you're still arguing with people. I want to know, why is it that you think, why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you doing this to the people around you? Why are you getting so angry about people who don't think like you? It's just so intolerant. It's so intolerant and so inappropriate to me. So I want to know, but, when I ask you or when I make the statement, I don't agree with you, you could say, what don't you agree with? Do you not agree with why I think we should impeach Trump? Do you not agree with why I think that Trump is ruining the country? We could talk about that. But no discussion. Just, I got nothing to say to you. So of course I'm not gonna let this fucking guy shut me up. Not in a public space. Not when I had my First Amendment right to make conversation in Greenwich Village, New York City, on a beautiful day in September. I push forward. I'm like, yeah, man. You think it's a good idea for us to just impeach the president? You don't think that's going to cause like a whole just chain of events that will most definitely negatively affect the overall well-being of the country, the people in the country, maybe even erupting into violence or civil war or something? Just, he's like, I don't just want to impeach Trump. I want to impeach Pence. And okay. Oh, because that's what I said. I said, I go, so you think that Mike Pence should be president? That's what you think? And then he's like, I want to impeach Pence too. And that's when I realized, I'm like, I don't think you understand how this process works, dude. I don't think you can just A, impeach the president, and then B, impeach the vice president, and then you're going to get the Secretary of State. Who is that? That's not Rex Tillerson. It's the guy who's fucking worse. John Brennan. Is he the Secretary of State? He's up there, right? He's like the National Security Advisor. So he's not the Secretary. Who's the Secretary of State? It was Tillerson. He was replaced by some fucking scumbag. So you want that guy to be president? I think the Secretary of State is who becomes president. No, I just don't want any of them. Well, buddy, that's not how the democratic process in this country works, unfortunately. We had a Democratic election where people showed up and maybe there was some shenanigans in the voting booths or whatever. As far as I can tell, it did not work in Trump's favor in that sense. I don't think Trump had the ability to rig the election as far as like, fixing the polling booths. I don't think that those people who own those voting booths that are privately owned, I don't think they're Republicans. I believe they run with the Democratic Party. In fact, this lady, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who we'll get to here in a second, there is some suspicion in Florida that maybe she's got some inside connections with the people, with the private companies who own those voting booths. And how does she keep getting elected when she is the one who quarterbacked the whole operation to compromise the Bernie Sanders campaign to get Hillary at the head of the ticket for the DNC? So this was all this. You're basically what you're saying to me is we need to unseat a democratically elected president and then the vice president and then put who in charge? Who's going to be in charge? Are we going to put Hillary in charge? Have you seen Hillary? Is that, you don't think that, just mass fucking violence and turmoil is just going to engulf this country if we put a Democrat in charge in the middle of Donald Trump's presidential term? Do you understand that what you are is you're not a rational thinking person. You're just a baby whose bottle got taken from him, and you just are crying and yelling at the sky and just calling people Nazis and racists and white nationalists. Do you not see that that's exactly what you're doing? Okay? If you had a political opinion, that's fine. You're more than welcome to have that opinion. But, when you start proposing ideas that are completely preposterous and completely fly in the face of how this country fundamentally operates, yeah, man, you don't think I'm going to have a problem with that? You don't think I'm going to have a problem with the fact that, that I have family in this country and I don't think they should be subjected to that? That I want to have children who are going to grow up in this country and I don't think they should be subjected to that? That, my great-grandfather immigrated here in 1910 because this is a democratic country, or supposedly, or it's a republic. I don't even know if it's a democracy, but either way, we have a democratic way of electing our leaders. You don't think I'm going to have a problem with that? That you want to essentially silence my free speech? You don't think I'm going to have a fucking problem with that? You don't think I'm going to have a fucking problem with that? I got a problem with it, bro. And so then we start going back and forth with these points, right? Because he goes, when I make this point I just said to you guys, he goes, well, give me one good thing that Trump has done. One good thing. And so, of course, I rattle off several. I'm like, okay, well, A, record stock market, okay? B, record low unemployment for not just straight white males, but straight white females, colored females, African Americans, Latinos, so that's okay. What else? What else has Trump done? Well, he's actually put money back into people's pockets with all of his tax cuts. And no, not just the 1% or the billionaires, but the middle class, the lower class. Everybody's got a tax cut. Everybody's got a job. Everybody has money right now. You have to be a real lazy piece of shit to not have a job, okay? Even weed dealers are fucking thriving right now because they've got work, because people have money to buy weed, okay? Everybody is doing okay right now, especially if you've invested in the stock market. And then, of course, that brings us to the next thing where he counterpoints me with, oh, well, he's working off of Obama's stock market. And I'll be the first to say that I don't think it's a good idea that Trump attaches himself to the stock market because the stock market is so fragile and dependent on so many factors that the thing could just crash out of his control. And if you're going to take the credit for it, you're going to have to take the fucking blame for it if it crashes. But at the same time, dude, if you got a portfolio right now, your shit has never been better. If you got a 401k or a Roth IRA, you're feeling pretty good right now. Now is not a bad time to get to retire, okay? That's just the truth. People have money. People can go to the store and buy food. They can buy water. They can pay their rent, if you can do those things, this is really all we need out of our leadership to make this a livable country, okay? There are people who drive Ubers for a living. There's people who rent their apartments out on Airbnb for a living, There's people walking dogs for a living in New York City, the most expensive city, maybe the top 2 expensive city in the country, in the world. Everyone's doing okay. And I got to give Trump a lot of credit, okay? And let me say this. If you're going to make this point that he's benefiting off of Obama's economy, Obama took over in 2008, right? We talked about the stock market crash in the last podcast. The country was in dire straits. What happened is the government infused the economy with $700 billion of stimulus. They just created money out of thin air and then put it in the economy and gave it to the bankers, right? They didn't give people their jobs back. They didn't, bring manufacturing back to the country. They sent that shit to fucking China. And they put interest rates at 0%. So, banks could just give people all of these loans and essentially build this beautiful economy off of nothing but fucking unicorn jizz, i.e. credit. Okay? Not to sound like a broken record, but because that's what we talked about in the last episode. But that's why the stock market went so high, was because so many people had credit cards and loans and all these things to basically build empires on margin. And so Trump comes in, and what does he do? He slashes fucking taxes for everybody, including big corporations. Now, the holistic a-hole, not a fan of the big corporations until they take their money from overseas and repatriate it to the tune of $300 billion back into the country. So why is the stock market so high? Well, because, the top 50 or 100 or whatever it is they measure the Dow off of, all of these companies have more money in the country. So they're hiring more. I think they're paying more. That's a whole other thing that you can't really blame Trump or Obama for. That's a Fed thing. Why is there so much inflation, Why is the value of a dollar so much lower than it was 10 years ago? It's really fucked, but I don't think you can't put that on Trump. You could put that on Obama, maybe. But yeah, fuck yeah, you better believe the economy is doing great, man. So don't give me this shit where, it's Obama, it's all because of Obama. No, that's not right at all. So now me and this guy were getting into it here. And this is, again, Washington Square Park. There's drum lines, jazz bands, and now we're starting to turn some heads. Like, people are watching. And, I was so engaged in this conversation. Somebody might have recorded it on their phone. I could be on Instagram just getting trashed right now. I could be on freaking Twitter or Instagram or Reddit or whatever, just getting just absolutely demolished by people. I have no idea. All I know was now that I'm in this debate, I'm not leaving. To the point now, people are not just looking, people are now starting to kind of chime in. There was this young kid wearing an NYU shirt. Makes sense, we're right next to NYU. And he gives just the typical, fucking millennial snowflake response. Like, is the economy the only thing that matters? What about addressing this problem of privilege? What? What are you talking about, dude? Privilege? What? Okay. Yes. Is there privilege in America? Abso-goddamn-lutely. Okay. Is there white privilege? Yes. I've never shied away from the fact that I am a benefactor of white privilege. But what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to not be white? Am I supposed to take everything I own, liquidate it, and then just give all of that money to minorities? What do you want me to do? I try to be fair. If I own a business, I'm going to hire, I'm going to fucking hire minorities. I'm going to hire black people. I'm going to hire Hispanics. I'm going to hire women. I'm going to hire Asians. I'm going to hire everybody. And I don't know if you notice what's happening right now. How do you quantify privilege? You can't. So we can't debate about it. It's just, you can't take this argument where it's just talking about numbers and make it about feelings. Okay. I get it. You're sad because Trump is your president and you don't like that. Okay. Your bottle's taken away. You want to go yell at the sky, whatever liberals do now. But you're going to have to wait 2 years. That's just how it is. This is how the process works. When it comes to privilege, I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know what we're supposed to say. Privilege has existed before Trump showed up in office. He's only been in office less than 2 years. You think privilege was just invented in the last 2 goddamn years? I asked this kid, I'm like, well, what do you know about privilege? He's like, well, you see, I'm lucky enough that I go to NYU. Oh, because that's what I pointed out the fact that I'm like, what do you know about privilege? This is why I start getting heated. I'm like, well, what do you know about privilege? You go to NYU, one of the most expensive colleges in the United States. Yes, I understand privilege. I'm lucky enough that my parents pay $72,000 a semester for me to go to NYU. Well, motherfucker, you know about privilege. And don't ask me, is the economy the only thing that matters? You're going to talk about the economy as the only thing that matters because you don't know anything but the good economy. The economy's never been an issue for you. You're 19 with your parents paying your way to NYU. You'll never have to worry about money in your life. For people who in 2008 lost their entire retirement savings, lost their houses, lost their families, drove them to fucking drugs and alcoholism, maybe opiates, maybe, just full-on ruin, maybe even suicide. Yes, the economy is a big goddamn deal in this country. And quite frankly, at the moment, Donald Trump and his administration are knocking it out of the fucking park. Okay, so that was like one big thing that I got out of this discussion. Okay, the next thing that happens is, like I said, everyone's like looking at us, and I've been in these situations before where nobody's agreeing with me. Okay, I know where I am. I'm the away team right now. I'm wearing the red jersey. They're wearing the white jersey. I get it. I'm not trying to make friends here. But what I do notice sometimes when I get in these discussions is that people are very quiet. Some people are not. Some people will pile on, but then some people will just quietly watch. And a lot of times I think those people are people who agree with me, but they can't speak up because they know that now they're going to become the bad guy. It's a very uncomfortable position to be in, to be considered the bad guy in one of these like debates, because again, these lefties will start calling you names, and they're very hurtful names, They'll call you a Nazi. They'll call you a racist. They'll call you a white supremacist, even if you're not white, right? Even if there's no way you could be a Nazi. I'm a Jew, motherfucker. I got a big-ass bald spot right in the top of my head. How am I a Nazi? What Nazi activities have I partaken in? Have I run up into somebody's apartment building and, hit somebody's ceiling with my broom looking for people hiding in attics? Is that my Nazi activity? Am I lining up innocent people against walls and shooting them in the head? Because that's shit that Nazis did. That's okay. The people who voted for Trump, for the most part, were people who went to work 5 days a week, 40 to 50 or 60 hours a week, and fucking watched their retirement just get flushed down the drain after 30, 40 years of working in jobs they hated to support families they might not have liked, living life full of regrets. The one shining fucking light in their lives was turning 65, taking the retirement money, and going to Cabo. But then, all gone in literally one day for most people. And those are the people who voted for Trump. And so somehow now they're Nazis. Somehow now they're white supremacists. So people are afraid to speak up sometimes because they don't want to get labeled that. Not everybody's like me. I get that. I'm just a loud, annoying person, I don't do this to make friends. I do this to be right, to get the facts out, to learn. And a lot of times I lose. A lot of times I lose these arguments. But I'm not going to stop fucking having the arguments because First Amendment, bitch, I can say whatever the hell I want. I can engage these conversations all day. And no, I don't care if I lose an argument or if I'm proven wrong in front of people in Washington Square Park, because if there's one thing I've learned about, going out in public, especially in New York City, nobody's ever going to remember that shit happened. They might talk about it later on at the bar, but 2 days later, it's off the radar. So who cares? Let's have the goddamn discussion. So we're sitting there arguing and people are quiet. And then, out of nowhere, this Indian couple, a guy and a girl, older, man and a woman, older Indian couple, they're just watching the whole time, and then they realize they gotta go, and they walk by me, and they shake my hand, and they go, "Thank you. You're absolutely right. Thank you." Thank me. Thank me? What the hell did I do? All I did was speak my truth to this fucking hateful piece of shit, trying to make money off of this impeach Trump movement like all these people are doing. So yeah, they have a financial interest in trying to drum up hate against Trump supporters. But then a lovely Indian couple comes by and they thank me for my quote-unquote service. And the funny thing to me was you should have saw the look on the people's faces who were agreeing with the fat guy selling the pins. Oh my God. A non-straight white male supports Donald Trump. Can you believe that shit? Can you believe it? Yeah. Sometimes there are people who are not straight white males who think differently than the guardians of fucking, truth or whatever, the Democratic Party white people. Because that's the ones who are making all of this racial nonsense, right? Is the Democrat white people saying, you don't know what it's like to be discriminated against. Yeah, well, neither do you and your stupid Hitler Youth haircut. You don't know what it's like either. I don't know what it's like, and I don't want to know what it's like. But I'll fucking live my life to the absolute goddamn fullest and not be shut up. And you know what? Not every minority, I would actually probably say most minorities don't think like you, dude. Kanye West, Candace Owens, Diamond and Silk, African Americans who are outspoken Trump supporters don't think like you. So yeah, take your hateful fucking pins and get the hell out of here. Trying to make money off of hateful bullshit. All the pins. I mean, it's like the Nazi pins, the impeach Trump pins. Like, this is hate speech. Just calling people fucking Nazis. And I'll tell you the one that really bothers me. The gay flag pins, along with all the impeach Trump stuff. Because what the Democratic Party is doing is they're trying to employ the LGBT community to say that, oh, you're a part of us. You don't want to be like those hateful Republicans. None of these Republicans hate the gay people. None of these Trump supporters hate the gay people. Sex has nothing to do. Granted, yes, there are like the religious right that are like, yeah, gay people are wrong or whatever. Yes, that absolutely exists. But, they're not the only ones who support Trump. And also keep in mind, they were like that before Trump even came into office. So stop trying to build an army of LGBT foot soldiers because you spread this fake bullshit that conservatives don't like gay people. Nothing could be further from the truth, okay? There's plenty of fucking gay people who hate straight people. There's plenty of straight people who hate gay people. There's plenty of white people who hate black people. There's plenty of black people who hate white people. This is a country full of a lot of different opinions, And I hate to say it, gay people and immigrants, you're being used by the Democratic Party. They're using you. Immigrants especially. You know why they want you in the country? Not legal, but illegal immigrants. You know why they want the illegal immigrants in the country? Because they know the illegal immigrants will vote for the Democrats. They want to get you, legalized and naturalized, or not naturalized, but they want to get you legalized and in the country, give you voting rights, and have you vote for the Democrats. This is the game they're doing. It's the same thing. If you ever saw that movie, the documentary Wild Country on Netflix about the Rajneeshpuram cult in Oregon in the 80s, those crazy yoga Kundalini motherfuckers, That's what they were doing. They were taking homeless people, moving them up to Oregon into their crazy little city, registering them so they can vote, so they can basically take over the fucking city or state or whatever. It's the same thing that's happening right now. So basically, what happened by the end of this argument was the lovely Miss A-hole, she wanted to go on with the day. She was getting sick of this shit. So she starts tugging on my holistic arm, pulling me away, and I had to go like a little bitch. It was like mom was out, on the doorstep, yelling at me to get home, and I'm in the middle of a game, and I had to go, and then, I look like a punk. But I didn't care. I could have sat there for hours, and what would it have done? It would have done nothing, right? But what I learned was that the left are a bunch of intolerant hypocrites. Because just before I left, the guy who I was arguing with, where this whole thing started in the first place, he walks up to me, he gets in my face, because he was so sick of me by this point. I totally ruined his crepe. He was sitting there, I don't know if I mentioned, but he was sitting there eating a crepe. And I totally ruined it for him. Stressed him out. Shouldn't sit there in the middle of Washington Square Park with hateful anti-Trump pins trying to eat a crepe, dude. That's not a good way to digest your food. You gotta eat in a parasympathetic state of mind. You can't be sitting there stressed out trying to deliver all this hate out to the world. You're probably dealing with gastrointestinal problems. You probably have candida, dysbiosis, maybe H. pylori. But he walks up to me, gets in my face, finally gets up out of his seat, gets in my face, and he goes, motherfucker, I worked on Wall Street. Oh, because we were talking about the Wall Street bankers. Because I said Obama didn't put any of the Wall Street bankers in jail. That's a big right conservative talking point, right? Anti-Obama, anti-liberal. They're like, Obama didn't jail the bankers, which he didn't, or nobody in his administration did. And he was so sick of this by this point, he walks up to me and he's like, I worked on Wall Street. I made $500,000 on Wall Street. Oh, you did? Oh, well, there you go. You're one of the pieces of shit that drove this country into the financial fucking ruin. You're one of the reasons why Trump got elected in the first place. So I'm not saying consciously did this, but you inadvertently caused this problem. No, not inadvertently. You fucking deliberately caused this problem. Because you work on Wall Street, you make $500,000. You're not going to work every day, just punching the clock, filling out spreadsheets. You were probably doing some shady shit. You were probably working those financial algorithms, and you caused a lot of pain and suffering. And now you want to go back and blame other people for the problems that you caused. So guess what, dude? You just proved my point. You're a motherfucking hypocrite. You represent absolute dog shit. You and everybody who takes the stand, who sits around and calls people who don't agree with them Nazis and racists and spews all this hate into the atmosphere, you're a motherfucking hypocrite. That's how I feel. I know all you a-holes aren't going to agree with me. Maybe you're upset because I'm not talking about health. Don't worry. There's plenty of health to talk about. We'll get back onto the other side of this intersection. But I want to make this point because, man, as a society, we are just in this time and place right now where we have just lost our grounding. We've just lost our footing in reality, and we've let the big corporations and the algorithms dictate our thoughts. And we've got to get that back. You got to think for yourself. Stop watching the news. Stop it. Who cares? Read a goddamn book. Learn some perspective. Don't get all of your information from Wikipedia and The Atlantic and The New York Times and MSNBC and Anderson Cooper. Learn to think for yourself and put the numbers together and just be happy. Just be grateful. You don't have to be happy. Just be grateful. Just be grateful that you are in a place right now where you get the freedom of speech. You get the freedom to think independently, to make your own decisions, to not live in a constant state of war. And if nothing else, to have a job and be able to support yourself. Even if your job doesn't pay you enough, you have the ability to go on your computer, pull up YouTube, Coursera, what's the other one? Udemy. You can buy a number of any kind of online educational tools to help you improve your skills to get an even better job. Or you can just I don't know, there's a million ways to make money. Online, offline. Go sell weed, whatever you got to do. You can do it here in this country. Trump or Hillary or Bernie or any of them, none of them could take that away from you. None of them. So stop thinking in that place and stressing yourself out and causing yourself insulin resistance and heart disease and all of these stress-related disorders. Okay, my voice is shot. This was a hell of a podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, I'm interested to know your thoughts. I would love to know what you think because as the a-holes, you guys are the foot soldiers on the front line of this holistic movement. And I know we all come from different places. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. I respect your opinion, and I would love to hear it. Or if you agree with me, hey, man, I love you even more. So share your thoughts on this podcast. Go on to the Holistic A-Holes Facebook group or shoot me a tweet or take a screenshot in your phone of the podcast playing and put it on your Instagram story. Tag me at Holistic A-Hole. And if you haven't done it yet, hit the subscribe button. You know how easy it is. Subscribe to the podcast. Take a few hours, binge, turn on all your friends to the podcast, and you know what's going to happen. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Have a great day. Be grateful. Show love. Ooh, secrete love. And I'll catch you later. Peace.